Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker shells, Dutch Lacers, peasants, vassals, razorbacks, the extended Clinton family. I'm a useful idiot, and today I want to talk about a town in Arkansas that is welcoming martial law. And I'm surprised to be talking about a story like this. I find it rather shocking. This town is Paragould, Arkansas, with a population of 25,000. And they've decided that since they are statistically above the average in rapes, burglaries, thefts, and assaults, that they need to take this bull by the horns, and they are going to have full SWAT teams with armed with AR-15s, automatic rifles, with armored Humvees, patrolling the streets of Paragould, Arkansas, on a permanent basis. And this seems pretty reactionary and brings up a lot of interesting issues, and that's why I've decided I want to discuss it. Of course, first off is the fact that we have a small town in Arkansas with a small, very small population, 25,000, and yet they have a SWAT team with semi-automatic and automatic rifles, armored Humvees, and armored personnel carriers. So I wanted to comment on that. So we see the militarization of even a small town police force. And then the fact that we have a town of only 25,000, and yet they feel necessary to take these extreme measures. And whether they will be effective or not is questionable. But supposedly they're going to start this in 2013, next year. And I find it real interesting that despite all the surveillance society we live in, and a society where there's few restrictions on what the police can do to counteract crime, I'm really kind of surprised that that crime in a small town like this is getting so out of hand. But the words of the police chief himself are quite chilling. His name is Stovall. Police Chief Stovall said, and I quote, "This fear is what's given us the reason to do this. Once I have stats and people say they are scared, we can do this," unquote. I find that very chilling, because what it says is this culture of fear has really taken hold. And this culture of fear where people are so afraid, and their fear is certainly not commensurate with the reality, as we know by actual statistics. But let me get back to the story about Police Chief Stovall. He says he intends to have cops check identification anytime, any place, for any reason. And here's another chilling quote. Quote, "If you are out walking, we will stop you, ask why you are out walking, and check your ID." He goes on to say, quote, "They may only be walking their dog, but they are going to have to prove it," unquote. So, sure, I don't have to spell it out for anyone too much more. How disturbing it is to hear a police chief talking that way, and how disturbing it is to have this happen in an American city and have it be okay. And it reminds me of a couple things. One is the fact that this is so disproportionate. And we're finding that more and more. The reaction to these calamities, including these recent shootings, is so disproportionate to the actual event. And of course, the results are always looked at, but never the symptoms. And in the case of guns, of course, they're looking at the tool rather than the person that uses the tool and what kind of society they live in. But I digress. Let's get back to Paragould, Arkansas, where they will have essentially military in the streets. And one thing this reminds me of is a famous quote by Henry Kissinger when he was talking about it. At some point, if United Nations or American troops were in the streets of America, it would be very alarming. But if there was a lack of security and enough fear created that American citizens demanded to have the military in the streets, then of course the agenda could be achieved. And we're seeing a small example of that. And I certainly hope this trend doesn't catch on nationally. And of course the other part of this is this whole us and them, creating such fear that everybody has their own personal boogeyman, and creates more of this us and them culture. So pretty soon we're all going to be shuttered in our homes, scared out of our minds, glued to our TV sets, while the military roam the streets, and that's certainly not a scenario I welcome. So there you have it, martial law in Paragould, Arkansas, and they welcome it. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.